Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. As Michigan fans, we've talked extensively about what we saw during that Michigan spring game over the last couple of days and want to have one more conversation and kind of put a bow on where this team is at going into 2025, specifically from an offensive point of view. I think it was really easy for a lot of Michigan fans to leave that spring game having concerns about the offense. And look, I want to start with this. It's not like there are not concerns to be had. There are plenty of question marks that we need to see get answered going into 2025 from an offensive point of view. But the more times I go back and watch this Michigan offense, specifically Bryce Underwood, the more my confidence builds in terms of what this offense can be, not only the next couple of years. Like, I think we're all pretty confident that Bryce Underwood's going to be a dude for Michigan over the next couple of years. But how about specifically in 2025? Is he going to be ready to win at a high level for Michigan immediately as a true freshman? Look, I think this kid is pretty dang far along. Now, I think it starts with this. He had 15 spring practices with this Michigan team so far in his career, learning a new offense. And not only is Bryce Underwood learning a new offense, it's the whole Michigan offense, kind of learning the Chip Lindsey scheme, going up against a defense that, look, they're going into year two with Wink Martindale. They all know what they're doing on the defensive side of the football, and we expect that unit to be one of the better defenses that we see in the entire country. I thought we saw a lot of good things. And I think it first starts with the obvious stuff. Like, he is clearly a quarterback that really opens up the Michigan offense and really opens up the playbook. As critical as all Michigan fans, including myself, were of Kirk Campbell in 2024, and they're like, this certainly ain't me getting up here and defending Kirk Campbell. It's not like Kirk Campbell had the quarterback play to really open up this offense. Alex Orji, just from a consistent passer ability standpoint, it just clearly wasn't there. And then Davis Warren, it was low-level arm talent, low-level athleticism. Like, there just wasn't a ton that you could ask Davis Warren to do that he could do at a high level. So you kind of had to design the offense around what your quarterbacks were and weren't able to do. The thing that jumps out to me about Bryce is there's not a single thing that you can't ask this kid to do. You can ask him to get outside the pocket. You can ask him to attack the boundary. You can ask him to push it downfield. But the thing that stood out to me a little bit more as I continue to watch the spring game is I think for an early enrollee freshman, he's extremely far along. And one of the things that stood out to me is he did not hold on to the football very long. When Bryce Underwood took a sack, it had a lot more to do with the offensive line breaking down in pass protection than it did with Bryce Underwood holding the football. The ball was out quick, which tells me he kind of understands the offense, and the game is slowing down for him, and he knows how to go through his progressions and knows where I need to go to the football when I'm hot. That's normally where you see a lot of freshman quarterbacks struggle. And I think Bryce Underwood kind of showed you that he's a little bit further along than most of the freshmen that we've seen. And then the thing that probably excites me the most is he's not afraid to be a difference maker at the quarterback spot. Very similar to JJ McCarthy, where look, JJ McCarthy was not afraid to put the ball in harm's way at times to make big time throws. Quite frankly, that's what it takes to win Big Ten championships and to win national championships. You look at the teams that win national championships, and I'll show you a quarterback that is not afraid to put the ball in harm's way and give his wide receivers a chance. Thought you saw that from Bryce too. You want to get into some of the throws that excited me the most about Bryce Underwood and kind of how he can really open up and maximize this offense. Before we get into it, as always, want to hear from the Michigan fans too. Like, maybe as a Michigan fan myself, I got my blue and maize tinted glasses on, but I will say this, the more and more I go back and watch this spring game, and I'm sure that many Michigan fans who are listening to this as well have watched it a couple of times, the more I find myself believing in what this Michigan offense can be in 2025. Would love to hear from you all in the comments section. Want to give a quick shout out to the Michigan fans. The amount of support y'all have shown the boys throughout spring practice, whether we're talking the recruiting trail, whether we're talking spring ball, it's been amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it now. To start, I think with Bryce Underwood, he is pretty dang far along and he's only getting better. He's an early enrollee freshman that has gone through 15 practices in the spring with Michigan as he goes into the summer, as he goes into fall camp. And fall camp's really where you start to see the offense start to put it together, where all your days in the month of August are geared towards getting better at football. That's probably where it starts. Now, let's talk about what's around Bryce Underwood first, and that is the run game is going to be there. And I think some Michigan fans have question marks about the pass catchers on the outside. And I think that's probably a fair question mark to have going into 2025. I will say this: Donovan McCulley had not only flashed during the spring game, but has garnered a lot of praise coming out of spring practice. Jamar Broder, he looks like a guy that can be a difference maker for Michigan. And during that game for Michigan in the spring, it was a lot of walk-ons. It was a lot of guys in the 2 and 3 deep that were working with Bryce. I don't know if we have a full understanding of what the pass catchers around Bryce can be. Regardless of where you think the pass catchers are, I think the number one takeaway I had in terms of what's around Bryce Underwood, this run game's going to be there. We knew we had the running backs, Jordan Marshall, Justice Haynes. I think there was a lot of confidence amongst Michigan fans that those two cats, they're going to be dudes. And I think we saw that during the spring game. The offensive line, although maybe the offensive line at times struggled in pass protection, although I think it was a lot better than, some of the beat writers were saying at first, they were moving the line of scrimmage at a very effective level. Like, it wasn't just the running backs making plays. This offensive line it's a bigger unit than it was last year. And it's a unit that what I saw is, hey, we're going to be able to run the football at a very high level, which is, probably priority number one for, hey, is there enough around Bryce Underwood? Let's start with the run game. Are we going to allow our freshman quarterback to lean on an effective run game in 2025? And I think the answer to that was yes, coming out of spring game. Number two, he wants to be a difference maker, and this is important. You go back to the quarterbacks in 2024, I think the right term would probably be, scared. I don't think that Davis Warren doesn't have any arm talent. Like, I think Davis Warren can make some high-level throws when he needs to. Obviously not on the level of Bryce. I think he is solid. Didn't really want to, though. Didn't have a ton of confidence to do so. When you want to win national championships, you have to have a quarterback that is willing to be a difference maker. And yes, does Bryce Underwood have to get a little bit better about walking that line in terms of, hey, what throws can I get away with? What throws can I make at this level? And what throws can I can't? Yeah, absolutely. But you saw Bryce not be afraid to push the ball down the field and try to make some high-level throws for this offense, which I think is important. Getting into some of the more impressive stuff we saw, I think attacking the boundary at an elite level is something that was very clear. Now, what do I mean by attacking the boundary? There's a lot of quarterbacks at the college football level that don't have the arm talent to attack the boundary at an effective level. And I think you saw that last year. I mean, you look at the throwing charts from a guy like Davis Warren last year, it was a lot of stuff to the hook curl zone. It was a lot of stuff within 5 yards because you didn't really have the juice to push it to the boundary. Why is that so important? I think it's important for two different ways. One, the spacing of this offense, you saw a lot more of a spread approach for Michigan. Go back to the 2024 year, it was a lot of condensed sets. It was a lot of 12 personnel. It was a lot of really tight condensed sets because you don't really have the quarterback to push it to the boundary. The thing with Bryce that always stands out is his ability to not only throw to the boundary, but have the ball get there in such a hurry is huge. Look at the amount of separation that Channing Goodwin gets on pretty much just a simple throw to the boundary. That's a solid 5 yards. Now, he doesn't make Josiah Edmond miss right here, but I think a lot of Michigan fans are willing to live with this kind of play on 1st and 15 where, look, you're getting 8 yards. You're getting kind of back on schedule. But more importantly, you're giving Channing Goodwin an opportunity to make something happen with the football in his hands. And ideally, during the 2025 year, these Michigan pass catchers can make some things happen in space. Number two, again, you're going to see very similar play on the next play. Bryce Underwood attacking the boundary. And once again, that ball gets there so fast. There's just a different level of velocity on the football for Bryce, where, again, we're getting the football to Channing Goodwin with some space and giving him the opportunity to work after the catch. That ability to attack the boundary at a higher clip, I think, should excite Michigan fans. It was something that just wasn't really there in 2024. Number two, he's not afraid to make big time throws, and man, did he make some big time throws during the spring game. Number one, this might have been the best throw he made. 4th and 2. And one thing that's important to mention here, Wink Martindale was throwing the kitchen sink at this kid. Like, this was not a, hey, we're going to play vanilla defense and kind of let Bryce have some easy throws. That was not the case. I mean, right here, you're going to see cover 0. We're bringing the house. We're playing man coverage on the outside. No safeties high. Bryce Underwood knows on 4th and 2, I'm hot, and I got to make a high-level throw because I know there's going to be a free runner. Cole Sullivan's free off the edge. Bryce sees it immediately, stands in there, and makes that's the only place this football can go. And shout out Jalen Hoffman for kind of making a high-level catch in traffic to move the chains. And that's a freshman quarterback that, free runner, Cole Sullivan bearing down on you, stepping into it and throwing it right where it needs to be, into a tight window. And how about the throw down the boundary to Jamar Broder, where you're going to get, a little bit of a cover 3 look where we're going to roll this safety down into the box here. We know we have a one-on-one matchup, Jamar Broder versus Josiah Edmond, and we're going to go let our wide receiver make a play, and you can't throw a ball better than this. I mean, this is the perfect football. And ideally, Jamar Broder has to make that play. Like, if this Michigan offense takes that step in 2025, yes, it has a lot to do with Bryce, but it has a lot to do with these pass catchers making these plays. Now, Jamar Broder, early enrollee freshman, does not make the play. Man, you can't throw a better football than what Bryce Underwood threw there. You saw some high-level throws that, if you're a Michigan fan, you know that Bryce is giving us the ability to kind of win at a high level with the throws that he can make. And then the last thing was, we mentioned him getting the football out of his hands early. How about managing the pocket? Look, I thought the offensive line was much better in pass protection than I think a lot of people think. This is a good example of Bryce. Bryce, who's a phenomenal athlete and can get outside the pocket whenever he wants to extend plays, like stepping up, making the right read here. Like, Shannon Goodwin's open, Bryce just overcooks it. Look, I've seen Bryce make that throw a lot during his high school career. I'm confident that Bryce is going to make those throws in 2025. But I love, you go back to managing the pocket here. It's hard to find freshman quarterbacks who are willing to stay in the pocket like Bryce. Bryce does it. I mean, perfect pocket management, perfect read. You just got to make that throw to Shannon Goodwin in the back of the end zone. That's the type of stuff that is not going to get reflected in the box score. And I think most people are probably going to focus on the missed throw, of which there were not many. He missed that throw, and he missed a quick bubble screen on the outside, I believe, to Andrew Marsh, kind of just overcooked it and sailed it. Outside of that, Bryce, when the throws were there, did not miss many throws and made some big-time throws as well. I guess this is all to say that, look, I get the box score was not ideal. I get the amount of points that were put up on the board were not ideal. I think it's important to kind of add some context. Number one, it's a spring game. Number two, it's an early enrollee freshman. And then number three, when you dive into what we actually saw from Bryce, I think there's a lot of things to be confident about going into the 2025 year. We'll pause it there. To the Michigan fans who have watched this spring game back a couple of times, would love to hear how you guys are feeling in the comment section. Next episode we're going to revamp the depth chart and talk about, hey, what's that 2 deep look like heading into fall camp? Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.